Hello everybody, welcome back. In this video, we will continue with our lecture and we begin with the concept of a Carnot heat pump. What is a Carnot heat pump? It's essentially a Carnot engine operating in reverse. And so it's the opposite direction of a Carnot engine. It operates between the same temperature levels and involves the same quantities QH, QC, and W, but the directions are reversed. So in a heat pump, work is required as an input, as opposed to a heat engine wherein work is an output. In a heat pump, this work is used to, quote unquote, pump heat from the lower temperature reservoir to a higher temperature reservoir. And the desired output is QH, which is the heating effect. Examples of practical heat pumps, we have heaters. Well, in our country, it's not really applicable because it's already hot here, but it can also be used in industrial processes. It's also worth noting that we have a heat pump with another desired effect, and we call that refrigerators. So refrigerators are a type of heat pump, but the cold reservoir, or rather the cold environment, is maintained, and this cold environment serves as the lower temperature reservoir. So, for example, in a refrigerator, if uh, at your home, the inside of the refrigerator is the low temperature reservoir. And some portion of the cold environment access the higher temperature. Um, so, I'm sorry, the desired output is QC. So, in refrigerators, uh, the output that of interest is QC, which is the cooling effect. Whereas in heat pumps, the desired output is QH, which is the heating effect. Okay, next is a diagram of the heat engine versus the heat pump. Notice that for the heat engine, heat flows from the high temperature reservoir into the engine to produce work net, and heat is rejected to the cold temperature reservoir. For the heat pump, it's the opposite. Heat, uh, work is pumped or work is inputted into the system, and QC is absorbed from the low temperature reservoir, and heat is rejected to the high temperature reservoir. And as you can see, the flow of energy is reversed between these two systems. Now we will discuss the coefficient of performance of a heat pump, or the COP of a heat pump. In heat engines, we measure the efficiency as um, we use the efficiency to measure the performance of the heat engine, but for a heat pump, we measure efficiency in terms of COP, or coefficient of performance. So for a heat pump, COP, we can use this symbol. What is this Greek symbol? Omega. Like, okay, this symbol omega for the COP. And then it's defined as the ratio of the heat given off to the high temperature reservoir over the work required. Okay, so this is for the heat pump because QH is our um, is the effect that we desire, or is the desired effect. Now, in terms of for a Carnot heat pump, right, which is the ideal case, the COP is given by this equation. So we can use the absolute temperature in the formula, right? And it's important to note that the COP of a practical heat pump will always be less than the COP of a Carnot heat pump operating between the same temperatures. In general, this is so. By the way, another formula is for the um the COP of a refrigerator. So what's the difference? As you can see, the difference here is the desired effect is QC rather than QH for a refrigerator. But use the same concept. We use COP to describe the efficiency of the refrigerator. Okay. So it's also the omega sub ref, but the desired effect is QC over W. For a Carnot refrigerator, so this should be a refrigerator. This is the formula. Also can be expressed in terms of temperature. So this is the operating temperature, the cold and the hot temperature. And it's worth noting that um, the COP of the refrigerator is will always be less than that of a Carnot refrigerator between I'm sorry, yeah, operating between the same temperatures. Okay, so it's important to note that. And there's another information here. The For the COP of the heat pump is equal to the COP of a refrigerator plus one. Okay, and then transposing ref COP of the refrigerator on one side, you will get this equation. So that is the relationship between the COP of the refrigerator and the COP of the heat pump. Okay? Now let's consider a Carnot engine that uses an ideal gas as its working fluid. So the cycle consists of four steps from A to B. So where is A to B? This one, A to B. It's adiabatic compression. The temperature rises from TC to TH. From B to C, it's isothermal expansion. Okay, so this is an isotherm. To an arbitrary point C, QH is absorbed during this step. From C to D, okay, so by the way, this is the PV diagram. Okay, from C to D, we have the adiabatic expansion. The temperature goes back to TC. Okay, and then from D to A, we have isothermal compression back to its initial state. QC is rejected at this during this step. And to analyze this cycle, we would apply the appropriate ideal gas equation for each of the steps. Now let's introduce another concept in thermodynamics. An important one, we have entropy. So entropy is an intrinsic property of the system, just like how internal energy is a property of the system, and just like how internal energy arises from the first law of thermodynamics, entropy arises from the second law of thermodynamics. The fundamental equation that connects entropy to measurable quantities is given below. The total differential is equal to the of entropy is equal to the differential of Q reversible over T. Okay, so again, ds is the total change in entropy, and dq reversible is the reversible heat transfer, and T is the absolute temperature. Now, I would recommend for you to watch this video by following the link in the slides. Again, this is a video inception, and it would give a more in-depth explanation of this concept. More key points about entropy. The total change in entropy of a system caused by heat transfer can always be calculated by this equation. Okay. So the integral of dq over dt. Whether the heat transfer is reversible or irreversible, we use this equation. Another important thing to note is that entropy is a state function or state property, and this means its value depends only on the current state of the system and not how the system got or not yeah, not how the system got to that state. During a reversible adiabatic process, the entropy of a system remains constant, and we call that isentropic. So please remember, for a reversible adiabatic process, that is called isentropic. Now we move on to another important statement of the second law of thermodynamics, and this time entropy is included in the statement. The entropy change for any system and surrounding considered together is positive and approach zero for any process which approaches reversibility. Okay? Uh, mathematically, we express, okay, so mathematically, we express, all right, so this is the slide that I was referring to. Okay, the statement of thermodynamics considering entropy. The entropy change of any system and surroundings considered together, okay, is positive, it approaches zero for any process which approaches reversibility. So mathematically, we express that as delta S total is greater than zero. And the total is the delta S of the system plus the delta S of the surrounding should be greater than zero. Okay? So here S gen represents the entropy generated by the irreversibilities in the process. Now, for a system undergoing a process where heat is transferred from its surroundings at temperature T, we can write the S total as the following. Okay? The Q system over T. And also for delta S of the surrounding, okay, we can write the equation as Q surrounding over T. So it's important, okay, to note this diagram on the right. Again, the S gen is positive for irreversible processes and zero for reversible processes, but an entropy of less than zero is impossible. Okay. So here in the next slide, we'll derive the equation for entropy changes in an ideal um, gas. Okay, for an ideal gas. We'll start with the fundamental property relation for a reversible process. Okay, I'm sorry. We start with the energy balance. Okay, so energy balance for a closed system undergoing a mechanical reversible process. So remember, this is that um, energy balance. Now, um, by but we can express work as negative PdV. So we replace that into our equation and say because we assume that this is a reversible process, we replace dq with dq reversible. Next, by definition, H equal entropy, I mean enthalpy is U plus PV. So we replace that, okay, into, yeah, actually we get the total differential of this definition. So this is the total differential. And now we apply this to equation 1 to eliminate du. So basically, we isolate du on one side and replace that into the equation to get this one. Now, for an ideal gas, this statement is true, and this is the ideal gas equation. Now, based on this, we replace uh, the term for dH and V back into this equation to get equation 3. Okay. Now, we divide by T. We divide all the terms by T. And dQ rev, if you remember, is our total differential for the entropy. So therefore, for the total differential, the total entropy, the total differential of entropy for an ideal gas is given by this equation. We can also divide everything by R and um, transform this equation into this one. Okay. So this is the final expression of that. So here we divide um, everything by R and get the integral. So that's why it's already delta S. It's because remember entropy is just a state function. So the integral of that would just be delta S, the final minus the initial state, right? So we get the integral of this and the integral of dp over p is just ln p over p naught. And this gives us the general equation for the calculation of entropy change in the ideal gas state. So the next question is, how do we evaluate this term, Cp over R? So in our heat effects, remember that we use the value of Cp from Appendix D of our reference Smith and Vanes. So we basically use that. Okay. Please refer to that. Uh, so what happened here? Why is there a tau in the equation? Basically, tau is T over T naught. Okay. And what we need is for to calculate the mean heat capacity. Okay, so it's indicated by this special parenthesis, angular one. It so that means that we're calculating for the mean heat capacity. And so basically, what is the mean heat capacity? It's CP over T, but we have to divide by the logarithmic of the ratio of the two temperatures. I'm sure that you also encountered that in your other um Chem Eng subject. So what is so again to use this equation, right? To use this equation, we evaluate CPIG by using the mean heat capacity. Okay, and we use Appendix D to get the constants AB, C, and D. All right. Now, an alternative form of the equation is this one. Okay. Um, so this can also be used. Okay. So this is useful when um this is useful when the final temperature is unknown. Okay, so because here we can calculate for T if T is the final temperature. All right. So again, we can use this one, or we can also, we can use this one. We can use this one, or we can use this other one when the final temperature is unknown. Okay. So now we move on to the next slide. Okay, but before that, I want to clarify. All right, so we can either use this one, I'm sorry, this one, general equation, yeah, for calculation of entropy changes in ideal gas state, or this one. And this one, equation 5, is more helpful if the final temperature is unknown, and useful for in iterative calculation. So I like to correct myself, not referring to this equation right here, but rather equation 5. So this is the form of the equation for entropy, useful when the final temperature is unknown. Next, we move on. Entropy balance for open system. So remember that entropy is not conserved, it's in real processes. Rather, entropy is created. And the general entropy balance is shown in this equation. So we have the time rate change of entropy in the controlled volume, the net rate of change in entropy of flowing streams, time rate of change of entropy in surroundings, and that is equal to the total rate of entropy generation. Mathematically, we express this as the following. So each of the term here would represent in the one bracket, okay? Where, okay, so this one would refer to this time rate change of entropy in the controlled volume. This is for flowing streams. And this is the time rate change of entropy in the surroundings equal to the total. And this is always greater than 0. Okay? So these are, you can also see from the bottom of the slide the definition. Okay, so important note, why is there a negative? Okay, why did we put the minus sign converts Q, define Qj with respect to the system? Basically because of our sign convention. So it converts the Q with respect to the system to a heat rate with respect to the surroundings. Okay? Because you see right here, the definition is, um, so we replace this one by this, which is the total entropy of the surrounding resulting from the heat transfer between the controlled volume and the surrounding. So what's the direction if this is negative? The direction is from the system to the surroundings. That's why um, it's negative. Okay, the next slide is the rate of entropy generation, or we call it SG or SGen. So it's positive, as mentioned, for irreversible processes. Now, there are two sources of irreversibilities. Uh, Letter A is the internal irreversibilities within the controlled volume. Letter B is the external irreversibilities from heat transfer across the finite temperature differences between the system and the surroundings. Okay, so please take note of the two sources of irreversibility. Now, for a completely reversible process, what is SG? SG is 0, and this implies that the process is internally reversible within the control volume, and heat transfer between the control volume um, and the surroundings is reversible. So basically, if we make these two steps or two sources A and B as reversible, then that would mean that the process is completely reversible and Sg equal to 0. Okay? Next, entropy balance equation. And this is the last slide before we move on to the um, problem solving. So in conclusion, we have two important special cases of the entropy balance equation. So we have that for non-flow system, what is zero? The flow term is zero. So our equation simplifies to this one, equation 8. How about if when we have a steady state flow system, what is zero? The accumulation. Okay. Um, so our equation simplifies to equation 9. And these equations will be used for analyzing thermodynamic processes and understanding their inefficiencies. And that actually concludes this lecture on entropy and second law of thermodynamics. For our next class, we will apply these concepts to sample problems.